Motorsport is facing financial hurdles just like any other industry across the world right now as the international cost of living crisis continues. At the time of this Manx Radio Sportscast, uncertainty still remains around insurance for racing in Northern and Southern Ireland, with costs still yet to be met for racing to take place in those regions for 2023. However, the Isle of Man finds itself in a position of far greater security currently, with insurance already in place to allow racing on the Snaefell Mountain course and Balaun course to go ahead this summer. But whilst that's the case now, what questions remain for the future? Will rising costs to cover events present larger challenges for Manx motorsport further down the line? I spoke to Clerk of the TT course, Gary Thompson, to hear about the situation this year and for beyond that.
Yeah, for sure. I can confirm that despite the difficulties faced in Northern and Southern Ireland, that the insurance is in place for all events on the Isle of Man. That's the TT itself, the Manx Grand Prix, the Southern 100 and the Pre-TT Classic. So through ACU permits, once the ACU permit is issued for these events, then that's a guarantee that the insurance is in place.
Something I put to the members of the Southern 100 Club actually a couple of weeks ago when they confirmed the same thing is, why is the Isle of Man in a situation that all these things can be in place? There seems to be a real solidarity around the insurance situation compared to what we're seeing across the water.
For sure, the worldwide, certainly in Europe, the insurance market has hardened over the last couple of years, particularly so in motorsport, and we've found that not only in two-wheel motorcycle sport, but also in four wheels. And I speak to my colleagues in Motorsport UK, and we have found that the insurance market has hardened. But through a business program, the ACUs work very closely with its brokers and underwriters, and across all disciplines, not just the Isle of Man road race based events, but we cover grass track, motocross, short circuit racing, in road racing, grass track, speedway, and we've ensured that through a proper business model that all our insurances are in place for everything we do.
You say that the insurance market has hardened somewhat around road racing and whatnot. Do you feel that maybe for those outside the motorsport fraternity, whether it's the insurance companies or otherwise, there is maybe a bit more opposition to road racing as a concept as a whole?
I think what it is when I say it's hardened within motorsport, I mean obviously that's what we've seen, or that's what we've been advised by our brokers and insurers. But generally, insurance has hardened across every aspect. So it's not that hardening of the insurance market isn't restricted to just motorsport. There is a hardening of the insurance market across every risk management across the Europe, really.
And in terms of what it costs the Isle of Man over the many years that the TT races and the Manx Grand Prix have taken place, for example, do any things like incidents, for example, whether serious or sadly in some cases fatal, do they have an effect on how much that insurance will cost?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, we work very close with our brokers and insurers, and the insurers, the underwriters, they work on the claims experience. So they look at all the claims experience over a 5-year period, over a 10-year period. they see the trends of incidents at the TT, at the Manx Grand Prix, on all the Isle of Man road race based events, but also in other disciplines as well. So on the basis of the claims experience they examine, that's how they determine what the premium should be set for motorcycle sport.
Are there any massive changes in terms of the insurance requirements for, say, solo machines compared to sidecars out on the course?
No, not really. I mean, they look at the TT as a whole. They don't specifically insure solos separate to sidecars. They look at the TT as a whole, and obviously we inform the insurers of the enhancements we've made to the event in terms of safety through the safety management system, the risk assessment process, and they take all that into consideration. In fact, I went to London last year after the TT and briefed the underwriters on the enhancements, the safety enhancements were made prior to the TT, and the enhancements were made post TT in readiness for the Manx Grand Prix. So, in terms of safety on the TT course, the insurers are really happy with where we currently are.
There will be certain requirements you have to meet with these insurance companies to make sure that you can get that cover in place and it's approved. So, what are the sort of things that you have to meet as organisers to make sure you can get those costs covered?
Well, as I say, they always look at my risk risk assessment for the TT. Let's look at the TT. They look at my risk assessment. They look at the event safety plan. They always take on board the safety enhancements we've made through the safety management system. Safety management system to drive safety performance. So we're continually making these safety enhancements for the TT, and certainly the insurers take all that on board. But across the board, across every other discipline as well, obviously there are other enhancements made, and as the years go by, through experience, we're always increasing safety based on performance of bikes, and that's all taken into consideration when they set the premiums.
One of the big questions people have at the moment, particularly with what's gone in Northern and Southern Ireland, obviously the costs are just, as we speak at the moment, too much for them to manage. Even though the Isle of Man has insurance in place this year, what danger is there that the costs could rise further and it could put the racing on the Snaefell Mountain course and the Blount course at risk?
That's a very good question. I'm not sure I could answer that really. Yeah, I mean the insurance costs have increased, but what we can do and what we continue to do is to ensure that we put in as many safety enhancements as we possibly can to mitigate any risk, and as long as we further demonstrate that to the insurers, which we do on an annual basis, we can do what we can to try and keep that insurance cost to a minimum. But unfortunately, insurance has increased. I'm not sure what they've done across in Northern Ireland or Southern Ireland to counter that, but certainly so far as the Isle of Man's concerned, we've done everything we can to mitigate the risk of accidents happening, considering the inherent dangers of motorcycle sport, and as we currently speak, or as I currently speak, insurance isn't an issue for the Isle of Man, and we'll continue to go through that process as we go forward.
With the rising cost of living everywhere across the world, and you've mentioned obviously the insurance market is effectively no exception either in terms of how difficult it can be, does that uncertainty with the global situation at the moment, and has been the case for a while, mean that you can't always plan effectively ahead? So, for example, thinking about insurance for the next 2 or 3 years?
No, we're always having meetings with the insurers. If there was any big risk to insurance in motorcycle sport or in motorsport across every aspect, they would certainly let us know. But we've had no indication that's the case so far.
When these extra safety measures are put in, does that actually can that lower the insurance quote you get because you're putting these things in place?
It could. I mean, that's really one. All we can do is demonstrate to the insurer what we're doing to minimise the risk, or to put in extra safety measures, control measures around the TT course and the Blount circuit. But coupled with that, or adjacent to that, the insurer will always look at the claims experience, and they will always look at a 5-year program and a 10-year program, and that's what they base their premiums on, over that 10-year period really, and take into consideration any claims that have been made, against their premium.
I suppose that's leading me on to the other question of, if more safety measures are having to come in to maybe say keep the insurance quotes down, if that's the case, there is an inherent risk with road racing, the Isle of Man or elsewhere. Is there a danger that balance might be disrupted a little too much, that the racing and the nature of it gets stifled too much by safety measures going forward? I'm
not sure it'd be stifled. I mean, obviously we, taking insurance aside, we've always got to mitigate against the risk, taking into consideration that the speed of bikes is going to increase, and as such we've got to place our safety measures accordingly. So that will always happen, which we inform the insurers about. But I'm not sure. It would have to be something pretty drastic to actually stop motorcycle sport happening, and indeed the TT. So no, I'm pretty confident that we're in a safe position so far.
Now, as we mentioned, insurance is in place in 2023, but if we did see a climate, whether it's next year or the year after or beyond that the costs continue to rise and it does become a challenge, what sort of other options do you as organisers potentially consider as ways to kind of get that revenue in to make sure the costs are covered if it becomes too much?
All I can say on that really is, I mean, what the ACU have done, for some time, we have got our own captive insurance company, so we actually self-insure some of the risk, and that has gone a long way to demonstrating to the underwriter obviously that we take our risks seriously, across all disciplines. So we've already got that measure in place, and all we can continue to do is to continually look at safety measures across the course and across every discipline that we undertake, to ensure that we demonstrate that we're taking safety seriously, and we're putting in every measure we can to mitigate that risk.
Have you as organisers ever considered maybe, asking fans to try and help towards the costs? There have been a couple of ideas, banded about as to how fans could help out. Is that something that could be considered?
For me personally, I don't think that's the answer. I know they've got a GoFundMe page on the go across in Ireland, but that's a sticking plaster. That might work for this year, but those same costs are going to be in place for next year, and they can't keep going back to fans, asking them to put their hands in the pocket and contribute to a GoFundMe page forever. There's got to be a proper business model put in place to compensate for the insurance costs. But for me, if it works this year, great. But a GoFundMe page is a sticking plaster rather than something that can be relied on continuously.
With all that we've spoken about, quite a general question, mainly for the Isle of Man, purely from a financial standpoint, what's the future of road racing on the Isle of Man? How is the outlook? Is it going to get more challenging?
Well, from a race organiser's point of view, obviously I'm responsible through the race organiser for delivering the TT races for and on behalf of the promoter. So I don't really get involved in all the sponsorship and all that sort of thing. But certainly from our point of view, as long as we can demonstrate or continually put in place all the safety measures to make the TT course and the Ballown circuit as safe as we possibly can, then from our point of view, there's no reason why road racing can't continue. I mean, we always look at the insurance costs. We know the insurance costs, and we always, increase the prices accordingly for organisers to pay the premium so that we can keep the events going. But as far as I'm concerned, there is no risk or danger to any event on the Isle of Man in the foreseeable future.
And just finally as well, Gary, I believe there's also been an update in terms of the policies around European riders and those elsewhere that's going to be in place for 2023.
Yeah, for sure. We in 2019, the FIM, which is the world governing body, took the decision to remove all closed public road racing events off their calendar. So that's not just the Isle of Man based stuff, but events that took place in Ireland and across all Europe. So those events was no longer supported by the FIM. As such, the ACU, we put in place a foreign riders policy to provide a med and repat insurance for EU riders who wanted to come and do the Isle of Man-based road race events. And in the last couple of days, I've just managed to get that extended to include all the Irish riders, which wasn't in place before because the same insurer that insures our policy was providing that insurance for the Irish riders. But now that insurance policy no longer exists in Northern Ireland or Southern Ireland, I've now managed to secure an extension to the policy already in place to cover the Irish riders on our policy.
Thank you for having the stamina to make it to the end of the Manx Radio Sportscast. You're clearly someone who has their eye on the ball at all times. Want to hear more about the latest sporting news across the Isle of Man and much more? Then might I recommend you take the plunge and subscribe to this series or a wide range of Manx Radio podcasts at your favourite podcast provider, so that, in a flash, all of our finest moments take a winner's place on your smartphone. Thank you.